Hello and welcome students. Today I'll be teaching you how do organisms reproduce. First of all, let us understand the meaning of reproduce. Re means again and produce means to form. That is, when an organism produces another organism of the same kind, that is known as reproduction. This reproduction is not an essential part of survival, just like nutrition, digestion, respiration or excretion. But it is very important for the survival of the next generation or to continue the race on life. That is, if an organism does not reproduce, the next generation will cease to exist. That will become an extinct organism in the coming world. So it is very important. Now here in reproduction, there are two things. One is the importance of DNA copying. What is this importance of DNA copying? This DNA should be the same as that of the parents. But if there is a variation in the DNA, a new variety is created. If it is an exact copy of the parent, we will find the same character of the parent in the offspring, and it will relate to no changes or no variation. Whatever the parents have, the same thing will be carried forward, and this may lead to some problem in the life of the next generation. So variation is always important. This variation comes from when the DNA copy changes, that is through sexual reproduction. In this chapter, we are going to study about the three types of reproduction. One is vegetative reproduction. Second is asexual reproduction. And third is sexual reproduction. First, let us come to the topic of vegetative. The word vegetative comes from the root, the stem and the leaves of a plant. Normally, if a plant reproduces using any of these three, we call it as vegetative reproduction. That means if the plant is using a root to reproduce or a stem or a leaf to reproduce, it is called as vegetative reproduction. And this vegetative reproduction we find only in plants. It is not found in animals. Next is asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction is just a photocopy of the parent. Here, the organism, whether it is a minute one or a little bigger, makes exact copies and we call them as daughter cells. Why do we call them daughter cells? Because these organisms which produce the cells or which produce the next generation, they are again capable of producing. This has the best example of amoeba, where one amoeba divides into two daughter cells and again the two divide into 4, then 8, 16 and so on. So in asexual reproduction, it involves only one parent. That means from one parent, the next generation is formed. Then we move on to sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction we find mostly in animals. Sexual reproduction we find both in plants and animals. Now, what is this? In sexual reproduction, both parents are involved. That is, the parents, one from the father and one from the mother. In case of plants, it is a pollen grain and an ovule that fertilize to give rise to the next generation.